After I married Rachel, I worked hard for 3 years. I spent at least 12 hours at work every day. Through this effort, I saved enough money to make a full payment on our house. My wife and I were also able to set aside a certain amount of money. Eventually, we decided to go on a vacation. I had no idea that this vacation would turn out to be a real nightmare for me, and that my wife would find herself involved in an unpleasant situation. My name is Jason, and this is my story. Rachel is my wife. She's 28 years old, and we've been together for 3 years. I'd always been proud of her. She's smart, savvy, looks after herself, goes to the gym and beauty salons regularly. Unlike me, I can't say I look terrible, but my belly has grown over the last couple of years. I loved coming home in the evenings, where my wife in a short robe would greet me. We'd have dinner together and watch movies. I'd drink beer and she'd drink wine. After the movie, we usually enjoyed an evening in the bedroom. During those 3 years, I managed to pay off the house loan in full. It was now completely ours, owned by no one. Plus, I got a promotion at work, which meant more money for our family. All in all, we lived in harmony. The only thing that caused arguments was the question of children. I believed we were ready for a child, especially since I was already 30 years old. On the contrary, Rachel insisted that we should first live for ourselves, travel, and accumulate capital. I often told her, "Darling, if we follow your plan, we won't have children until we are 40, and then it may be too late." I really wanted a child, and the sooner the better. She seemed to have forgotten how we had discussed, before we got married, that we would start a family as soon as the house loan was paid off. It's been 2 years since we paid off the loan, and we still haven't had children. Rachel replied, "Honey, I understand you, but let's wait a little longer. We've lived in this town all our lives. I want to see the world in at least one country, and then we can think about a baby. What do you think of this proposal?" "So you're suggesting we go traveling first and have a baby after that?" I asked. "Yes," she replied, "that's a good idea, dear. We really need to go somewhere and relax." I was aware that Rachel was not employed, as I had suggested she stay home myself. I didn't see the need for her to get a job since my salary covered all our expenses. We set aside 5% of our income each month. This allowed us not only to provide Rachel with beauty salon visits and massages at the gym, but also to plan trips together. The day after our conversation, Rachel excitedly welcomed me home after work. She was bouncing around the house and shouting joyfully, "Yay, yay, yay! I picked out where we can go on vacation. Look." She handed me her phone, and I started looking at pictures of a 5-star resort in the Cell Islands. The place instantly won my heart, and I was already dreaming of being there. All evening, we made a shopping list of necessary purchases, booked simple tickets, and planned to fly out in exactly 1 week. I made vacation arrangements with work and began to wrap things up. Rachel, like me, was looking forward to the trip. The week seemed incredibly long, but finally X day came and we stepped off the plane, breathing in the fresh air. We booked a luxurious room with a kitchenette totaling 102 square meters with a panoramic view of the Indian Ocean. It was truly magical. I have dedicated my life to my work and the pursuit of a fulfilling family. However, I am grateful to Rachel for encouraging me to take this trip. We found ourselves in a completely different world where I was able to forget about the day-to-day responsibilities. The main focus became just enjoying the moment. That afternoon, we decided to head to a sandy beach to sunbathe and swim in the ocean. Rachel was dressed in her new bikini, which only hid her intimate parts. She looked amazing. Her soft skin was flawless, and her body seemed incredibly seductive. At that moment, I wanted to be with her everywhere I could, in the hotel, on the beach, in the bar. We started the evening at the bar around 6 o'clock, ordering alcoholic cocktails, then headed to the beach. Since it wasn't surfing season, the ocean remained crystal clear and calm. We settled down on the sunbeds and started sunbathing. At one point, I felt a little awkward. Compared to my wife, I didn't look my best. Overweight, lack of muscle, it was understandable because I was devoting all my time to work so Rachel could relax and enjoy herself. We spent an hour on the beach and went to dinner. The restaurant had a large buffet and we could choose whatever we wanted. I took a lot of food while Rachel was limited to a salad and a fruit plate. As we sat down, a young couple approached us, wanting to introduce themselves. We invited them to join our table. Kevin and Tiffany were not married. They were both 22 years old and looked great. Kevin was more muscular than I was, and it was obvious that he spent a lot of time taking care of himself. Tiffany was also well-groomed and beautiful. As we talked, we learned that they were flying with us on the same airplane, but in business class. Kevin worked for a large IT company, and Tiffany led a different life than Rachel. They had been together for 5 months now and had visited 3 different countries in that time. They shared these stories until I almost gasped in surprise. I was amazed to learn that a young guy with no education could often afford trips to such resorts. By the end of the conversation, I felt envy within me. Kevin and Rachel chatted while Tiffany and I remained silent. They were discussing various topics, and this overly friendly atmosphere started to annoy me. So I decided to end this communication. Everyone had already eaten, so I stood up, thanked them and told them that Rachel and I had to go. Kevin sadly suggested, "Too bad, but maybe we can meet tomorrow morning and spend the day together. It's always better in good company." Before I could even say anything, Rachel perked up. "That's a great idea. Jason and I." Kevin cheered, "Great, see you tomorrow then. Have a good night." "See you tomorrow," I said through gritted teeth. I didn't like that at all. Why did my wife make this decision? This is our vacation, meant for just the 2 of us. New acquaintances are great, but not in such an intrusive way. It upset me, but I didn't say anything to Rachel about it. I think she'll forget about it by the next morning, and we'll spend the day together peacefully. We had a wonderful evening with Rachel. A little flushed from the sun, it didn't stop us from being intimate. I slept like a baby, but woke up in the morning to hear voices in the living room. Stepping out in just my underwear, I saw Rachel, Kevin, and Tiffany. Before I could say anything, Kevin cheerfully greeted me. "Jason, buddy, good morning. What took you so long to sleep? We have a busy day ahead of us. First morning spa treatments, then sauna and hammam. After lunch we'll go sightseeing, and in the evening we'll swim in the Indian Ocean and head to the disco, where there's a concert tonight. So get ready, we're all set." I didn't quite understand what was going on and just said hello. "I'll be ready in a moment," I replied and went back to the room to start getting dressed. And then it came to me, why was this strange couple in our room? This was our plan for the day with Rachel. Why do we have to be with anyone else? Are we missing each other's company? I realized that I needed to have a serious talk with Rachel. I decided to do it at the earliest opportunity. I quickly got myself together and we headed out of the room. As we went downstairs, Tiffany suddenly remembered that she had forgotten something in the room and needed to go back. Kevin interrupted her, offering to go himself, and headed upstairs. Rachel, at that point, said that she needed to use the restroom. Kevin quickly suggested using the one in their room before I could say anything. Eventually, they both disappeared, leaving me alone with Tiffany in the hallway. Taking advantage of the moment, I asked her, "Is your boyfriend always this friendly?" I inquired if it bothered her that they left together to go to their room. Tiffany replied that Kevin likes to socialize and they've been together a long time, so she had no reason not to trust him. Rachel just wanted to go to the bathroom, and our room is closer than yours, she added. I reluctantly agreed, though I was still a little concerned. They were gone for about 7 minutes. I counted down the time. Kevin returned, holding out his girlfriend's bag, and Rachel appeared a little flustered, or maybe it was just my imagination. Throughout the day, I never found a convenient moment to talk to Rachel since we were always in the company of Kevin and Tiffany. Even though we were having fun, I realized that I would have been much happier spending those days with just my wife. By late afternoon, we all headed to the beach. Rachel had her 4th cocktail, Tiffany had her 3rd, and Kevin opted for a bottle of expensive whiskey and offered me some. I declined as I was tired and just wanted to relax on the beach in the sun. Rachel and Tiffany found common ground sitting on the sand and chatting. It was the first time I had ever watched them get along so well, while Kevin walked along the beach, lightly touching the water. Suddenly he called out to me, "Jason, come here." I walked over and we sat down on the sand. The conversation began. "Jason, you know, I've met a lot of people, but you and Tiffany are the first ones I really enjoy spending time with. You guys are great. I just want you to know that if you ever need help, don't hesitate to contact me." Kevin said, "Thanks, Kevin," I replied, keeping my composure even though I was seething inside. At that moment, I wanted to grab him and throw him to the sand for ruining my vacation by offering help that seemed hypocritical. It seemed to me that he was only interested in my wife. I noticed him touching her several times during the day, which perplexed me because Tiffany seemed less attractive compared to Rachel, who always exuded a sexy aura. I didn't say anything to his face. I wondered how far this could go. The evening at the beach continued, and I didn't even dare to go into the water. Meanwhile, Rachel, Kevin, and Tiffany were having fun splashing around in the ocean waters. While Rachel was swimming, I received a notification from her mom on her phone. Out of curiosity, I unlocked it to see if there was anything interesting. In contacts, I found a correspondence with Kevin. They had exchanged numbers, which surprised me, and had said goodnight to each other last night and exchanged messages about meeting up in the morning. There was nothing compromising in their conversation, it was just normal dialogue. However, I thought that instead of my wife, Kevin could have taken my contact to stay in touch. I was on the verge of having a temper tantrum when I found out that Kevin was communicating with my wife and I wasn't even aware of it. The only useful thing I took away from their conversation was the number of their presidential suite, 270 Bon Sant. I was shocked. Putting Rachel's phone aside, I met them when they returned from the water and informed them that I was feeling ill and would not be going to the disco. The only thing Rachel said in response was, "You can go to our room and rest. Today has been a busy day. I'll be back late, so don't wait up for me." I was speechless. Tiffany seemed shocked too. She suggested to Rachel, "Maybe you should spend time with your husband. We can go to the disco any other day." But Kevin objected, "What nonsense, Tiffany. We've been looking forward to this event all day. Are you suggesting Rachel skip it?" The argument got heated, and Tiffany slapped Kevin, called him a jerk, and left the room. Kevin hurried after her, apologizing to us. Rachel and I were left alone on the beach. I wanted to league with her, so I took her hand to hug and kiss her, but she pulled away. Rachel started talking hysterically. "This is all because of you. Can't you see it's your fault? Can't you behave yourself? We have so many friends and you never do what I want you to do. Even tonight, when everyone was swimming and having fun, you were lying on the chaise lounge like you were sick. I know you're lying. You're just annoyed with Kevin. Admit it, it's true." I replied, "You don't understand that we came on this vacation together. We're supposed to be together, not with someone else. Okay, we can have lunch or dinner with them, go to the pools and so on, but we should spend most of our time together. You're paying too much attention to Kevin." I held back as much as I could. I didn't want to say all the things that were boiling up inside of me. Rachel suddenly turned to me. "What about Kevin? Is he our friend, or are you just jealous of him? Do you think I would cheat on you with him? What's wrong with him? Why are you ruining my vacation?" I couldn't help myself then. Without a word, I took her hand and led her to her room. She tried to pull away, but I just said, "Shut up." After the third attempt, she went quietly with me. This behavior on my wife's part was new to me. I am not a tyrant, never harassed her or denied her anything, but what she was demanding seemed excessive to me. She wanted me to stay in the room while she danced at a club with strangers. That seemed absurd to me. I took her to her room where she lay down on the bed. After 30 minutes, she started crying. I wanted to go over to her and calm her down, suggesting we go to the hot tub on the terrace, which was only a 2-minute walk away. But when I walked into the bedroom, I saw her sitting with her phone. As I got closer, she put it aside and silently turned away from me. "Rachel, honey, we're not little kids," I said, apologizing for my outburst. "Let's go to the hot tub and relax together." She silently replied after a few seconds, "You go and I'll stay in the room. I need to get ready. We'll talk later." I tried again, but to no avail. She continued to lie there, ignoring me. It was already 8 p.m., and I went to get ready for the hot tub, warning her that I'd wait there for about an hour. "How long should I wait for you?" she asked. "About an hour. Will you join me?" I replied. "I'll think about it," she said. I left her in the room and went to the hot tub. It felt great. My body was relaxing under the massage of the water, and I felt like I was in space. It was already dark, and I lay there enjoying the clean air under the starry sky. After about 10 minutes, it got me thinking. I began to analyze the situation. It became clear to me that there were some feelings between Rachel and Kevin. They spent more time together than they did with me and Tiffany. During the day, Tiffany didn't notice the odd behavior of Rachel and Kevin, but by the evening, after their argument, she probably began to suspect that something was wrong. Later, I remembered their correspondence. Rachel had Kevin's contact in her phone, and I was seized with a disturbing thought. What if Rachel had texted Kevin in my absence and now he was in my room with my wife? As I walked back to the door, a strange feeling overwhelmed me. I discovered that I didn't have my key card. I remembered how Rachel, on her way out to ask when I would be back, had handed me my bag. Apparently, that's when she pulled out the card. I decided to go up to the receptionist and ask for an extra card. Luckily, the receptionist remembered me and I got the card, promising to return it the same day. Walking back to the door, my body seemed to stop obeying me. Quickly activating the door, I walked in. The first thing I heard was a woman moaning, which stopped abruptly as I entered. I immediately headed for the bedroom. The scene I saw stunned me. My wife was sitting on Kevin. The room was stuffy. All of her underwear and robe were scattered around the room. Her panties were hanging on the painting. Her robe was on the floor, and her bra was on the chair. The first thing Rachel said was, "Honey, it's not what you think. Let's talk." I was overcome with a mixture of emotions. I was humiliated and now I needed to talk. I stood like that for about 10 seconds until they reacted. I couldn't take it. I lunged at them. I pushed Rachel off the bed first, then jumped on Kevin. He managed to hit me a couple times, but I just wanted to grab him. I couldn't help myself. I stunned him. It was like he fell into a deep sleep. Rachel sat on the floor, hesitant to move. I threw a scornful look at her and said, "Honey, you don't want any trouble. You're coming to bed with me. What are you going to do?" She obediently listened to me, and to my surprise, I liked it. She lay down on the bed next to Kevin, and I walked over to the drawer. At that moment, Rachel asked, "What did you do to him? Is he alive?" I didn't answer, for he was indeed alive. Instead, I continued to rummage through the drawer. "Honey, I understand everything. What I did was really stupid. I'm sorry, let's talk," she said, but I wasn't paying attention. I found the handcuffs that Rachel and I sometimes used during intimate moments. I put the cuffs on one of Rachel's hands and attached it to Kevin's hand. Then I got out a fishing net and fashioned some sort of rope out of it. I tied Rachel first, securing her completely to the bed, then Kevin. Rachel didn't resist. She breathed deeply and occasionally uttered phrases about how much she loved me. When I was done standing in front of them, I picked up my phone, turned on the camera. Rachel began to speak. "Why don't you remember our purpose? We are working on our child together. Stop hurting me." I snapped a couple pictures. They were lying together, bound and naked. I captioned the photo as "cheaters caught red-handed." I sent it to friends, acquaintances, and parents. I deliberately took the ring off my finger and threw it through an open window. All the while, Rachel lay there begging me not to do it, but it was too late. "I'm going to put you in jail, Jason. Listen to me. You're going to pay a huge amount of money for this, and you'll be left with nothing," she said the moment someone knocked on the door. "They've come for you," Rachel said. I found Kevin's dirty underpants, crumpled them up and silenced Rachel by using them, saying, "You like getting into other people's pants." I then left the room, closing it tightly. I opened the door and Tiffany was standing in front of me. She immediately said, "Oh, Jason, hi. I'm sorry to be so late. Have you seen Kevin? He said he was going to go get ice cream for us, but he's been gone for about 50 minutes. I thought for a moment, then replied, "Tiffany, I know where your boyfriend is, but you're not going to like what you see." She silently followed me. When I opened the door of the room, Tiffany saw her boyfriend lying next to my wife. Rachel was trying to get Kevin's underwear out of her mouth, but she couldn't succeed. I quickly explained to Tiffany I didn't set anything up. I left to go to the hot tub, then came back and found them in bed together. Tiffany couldn't take it anymore and started hitting Kevin. I quickly held her back, at which point he woke up. Seeing me holding his girlfriend, he probably thought I was trying to flirt with her. But when he tried to get up, just as quickly he fell back into bed. They were both tied up and couldn't do anything. Tiffany watched the whole thing and cried. I closed the window and turned on the air conditioner to the highest temperature. After quietly gathering all my belongings from the bedroom, I took Rachel's passport and all of her papers, leaving her without any identification. I also took her cell phone and Kevin's cell phone, took the SIM cards out of them, smashed them, and put them in my bag. Tiffany and I then went to her room where she was packing her things. I also took all of Kevin's papers and put them in a separate bag along with Rachel's phones and papers. I also took my wife's and Kevin's credit cards. In Kevin's suitcase, I found about $450,000 in cash. This man is carrying around such sums of cash. What a clown, I thought to myself and decided to take the money. Leaving the hotel, I warned the receptionist that the room was illegally occupied by crooks and asked them to check the room 2 hours after I turned in my key card. Tiffany and I drove to the airport, having first gotten rid of all our IVs and phones. We felt like we were action movie characters. Once we arrived at the airport, we immediately took the first flight out with 2 connections and eventually made it to our hometown. We spent 3 days there, during which time I put our house on the market and filed for divorce. Tiffany and I then left for California. During this time, neither Kevin nor Rachel tried to contact me. Only Rachel's friends and parents started threatening me. When they asked where Rachel was, I told them I had no idea. They thought I had done something horrible to her, but that wasn't the case. I thought my payback was fair. Tiffany and I now live together in California. I can't say there was love between us, but I believed that in time it could grow into something more. I was excited about transferring to work in California. My divorce from Rachel was finalized and we sold our house, splitting the proceeds in half. Rachel had lost most of her friends, and even her parents were starting to treat her differently. Now I left everything behind to live and work for myself and help Tiffany. I hoped that we could be a complete family in the near future. This is the end of my story.
Thank you so much for watching my video and your time. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button. Also, I am very interested to know your personal opinion about this story. You can write it in the comments. I will definitely read it and reply to you personally.